What's going on, people? LP2000, I'm back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju. And yes, today, you know what time it is. You already clicked on the video, you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title, you already know what this is. We're taking a break from Godzilla, from Gamera, from the Ultra Twins up there, you know what I mean? And today we will be covering the X Plus 30cm Daimajin from the classic 1966 trilogy of great films, Daimajin, the Return of Daimajin, and the Wrath of Daimajin, also known as Daimajin Strikes Again. As you can see, I have the beautiful figure here, and where's the box here? And you know how we do things around here, you know what I mean? So let's just get into the box before we get into the figure. And basically, this is pretty much it with the box. It's a plain cardboard box with the black silhouette of Daimajin, the figure, on the box. And this is his name, Daimajin, and it has 30cm, I guess, series, as far as like Dai is concerned, because there's a slight difference between Dai, you know, properties like Daimajin, Gamera versus Toho, you know, with Godzilla and you know, Mothra and all those other monsters, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much it with the box, you know, standard. It's not that big, you know, because Daimajin's not that big of a fig, you know, he's a very humanoid form. So it's great, I like it. So that's it with the box. So let's talk about the great demon god, also known as Daimajin, or Daimajin, or Daimajin. I don't know how y'all pronounce it, but for me, I call him Daimajin. You know what I mean? And let me first give a huge shout out to a couple people that have nudged me into getting this figure. First, I want to give a huge shout out to my brother from another mother, Eric Arrington, as well as another brother from another mother, Eric Henry. Thank you so much for you guys. I really do appreciate it. I know what y'all did. You know what you did. And I appreciate you for doing this for me. Now, backstory about this figure in particular. Now, they did, as far as S Plus, they did come out with the 25cm version of Daimajin. I think they came out with 2 separate releases. I forgot when they came out, you know what I mean? Because when it comes to Daimajin, I'm really a novice at best. I'm not really in the loop or know too much about it, because I've only seen the films like maybe once or twice. So bear with me here as I go through this review here. But S Plus came out with a couple of 25cm releases of this figure, and this figure in particular, they decided to jump into the 30cm for Daimajin, or Daimajin, or whatever, however you want to call them. And it came out December of 2016, which is appropriate because it coincided with the 50th anniversary of his trilogy of films that came out in 1966. And far as my backstory with Daimajin, or at least the movies per se, I've been hearing for years and years about the Daimajin trilogy from other collectors, from other fans, from other enthusiasts. And for a while, it really didn't tickle my fancy, so to speak. It didn't catch my interest. You know what I mean? Because I'm all about variety too. I mean, because I love Godzilla, I love Gamera, I love Ultraman and Ultra 7. You know, I'm not into everything kaiju. Like, there's some things that I have not gotten to yet. Like, I haven't seen the X from Outer Space, you know, Gulala. I haven't seen the Mysterians. I haven't seen Matango. I haven't seen, you know, other alternate forms of science fiction / kaiju entertainment from Toho and other studios. But I've been hearing great things about Daimajin and his trilogy of films from a lot of different people. You know what I mean? And for a while, they weren't really available, at least for me. You know, they came out in a Blu-ray set, like maybe like I guess like a couple years ago. You know, I think it's still out there. Maybe they may be a little bit more expensive now because I feel they're more. I think they're more scarce to find, as far as like the Blu-ray movies. But anyways, fast forward to last year, 2017. I happened to be at home and I didn't have anything to do, and actually all three of the films are on YouTube. So through the persuasion from Eric, he was like, "Hey, you know, why don't you try and watch the films? You may enjoy them. You know what I mean? It's not your typical kaiju fare in a way it is, in a way it isn't. So why don't you sit down and watch them? You know?" I was like, "You know what? What do I have to lose? They're on YouTube. They're for free. So just sit down and watch them, and maybe you might like them." And lo and behold, I do like them. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily love them. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say they're bad films. They're kind of repetitive, which I will talk about later on when I talk about the films, or at least try to talk about the films. Like I said, I'm a novice at best when it comes to Daimajin. But after I watched the films, I'm like, you know what? I need me a figure representation of Daimajin, and you know me. When it comes to figures, I prefer to have my figures 30 centimeter or bigger. Nothing against the 25, because I've seen the 25 centimeter figures and they do look good. But I wanted to get my hands on the 30 centimeter version of Daimajin. Even at the time when it was released, I heard there were issues that collectors were having with it. Just issues as far as like, I guess, some appendages or just, I forgot what it was, but I do recall people, at least a couple of collectors who got their hands on it at the time, being a little bit upset over some issues that the figure was having. Now, as far as the figure is concerned, I got the standard. I don't have the Rip Boy, which I kind of wish I would have gotten now, but still, I'm glad to have at least some version of Daimajin, as far as like a big version of Daimajin in my collection. The Rip Boy came with alternate features. It came like with 5 separate hands. It came with an alternate head-to-head, like his different face, you know, that doesn't have his grotesque Shogun face. It had a mini figure of the kid that he held in the Wrath of Daimajin, the 3rd film. It came like with a hook, sword, movable eyes, stuff like that. Basically, all the Rip Boy features of the Rip Boy reflect different scenes from each of the films in the trilogy, which I thoroughly enjoy, which is why I wish I would have gotten a Rip Boy. But still, I'm happy with what I got, and I'm happy that Eric, and especially both Erics, as a matter of fact, Eric Arrington and Eric Henry, have pushed me to get into Daimajin. And I will be watching more of the Daimajin films more, because like I said, I only watched them maybe once or twice. You know what I mean? And they're good films. They're a good alternative, and I'm all about alternative. It's good to watch Godzilla films and Gamera films and Ultraman shows, you know, but there are other kaiju forms of entertainment out there, and Daimajin's one of the best. So that's pretty much my backstory with Daimajin, with the films, and me getting this figure finally after all this time. And I got it through Mandarake. There was one sitting on Mandarake for a long time, and I was like, you know what? After watching the films, I'll pull the trigger, and I got it late last year, and I couldn't be even more happier. So that's pretty much it with my backstory. You know, I'm gonna do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with this exquisite figure from X Plus, the 30 centimeter Daimajin. All right. Let's go. Okay, folks, here we are up close and personal with the 30 centimeter Daimajin. Yes, such an amazing piece, you know, and this pretty much is going to be a simpler review, more simplistic review, I should say. Basically, what you see is what you get. Such an exquisite piece of art when it comes to X Plus figures, and X Plus does not disappoint. I have seen folks say that they actually prefer this one over the 25, and vice versa. But actually, every Daimajin figure that I've seen X Plus has made has really been good. They pay attention to a lot of detail when it came to the actual suit of Daimajin. As far as the sculpt, he looks exactly like Daimajin, which is awesome from all angles. From this angle, from the profile angle, from the back, you know, just everything just is awesome. And the sculpt right here is just amazing because it kind of looks like it's flowing a little bit, you know. It's kind of bulging out, you know, because there were certain scenes in the Daimajin films where his I don't know what these are called, these two right here, I guess his place on his shoulders. They were actually flat because the winds, I guess, was so treacherous and so strong that it would actually like have these like not exactly dangling, but they were move like they would flail because the winds were so strong. And there are times when Daimajin would move, you know, this right here, I wouldn't call it a skirt because I don't want to make him angry. It would move, you know what I mean? Even though he's supposed to be a stone statue or a stone god, you know, because of the winds and stuff like that, you know, it was really apparent that it was really a suit in certain situations or in certain times because certain parts of the suit would move. Like I said, with his shoulder, I guess pads, and especially his area down here, you know. But other than that, great lightness. It has a more of a bronze color all over his body, you know. Just a almost like a dark, dirty, light penny color. You know what I mean? Yes, this is an amazing piece. And actually, like I mentioned before with the Rip Boy, and which I wasn't aware until I got this figure, actually his sword actually comes out. So as you can see, this is his sword. I'm gonna try and pull it out so it won't knock him down. Excuse me 1 second. There you go. There you go. So this is his sword. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with the alternate hands where he can hold the sword. Mind you, he didn't use the sword until, because it's apparent all over his on his suit, or at least on the suit in each of the 3 films. You know what I mean? But he doesn't actually use the sword until the 3rd film, which is good. This is nice to have this sword. It's a really nice looking sword, as you can see. You know, it's unfortunate I don't have an alternate arm for me to put the sword in, but you know, it is what it is. It's all good. I'm still glad to have this version of Daimajin in my collection, as well as the little hooks here that holds the sword right here. You know, just amazing. Just really is amazing. Look at that face. That face is, oh my God. Just, oh my God. And that's the thing about Daimajin. When he would convert from his alternate form where it had like the pale looking face with no expression on his face, you know, when he would put his arms together and it would pan up and then it would basically transition to this grotesque, almost sadistic, wicked looking face. It's kind of like, you know, the Incredible Hulk TV show back in the day. Remember when David Banner would get involved in situations and he would come across, let's say, a dude that's like trying to make him angry, and you're like sitting on the edge of your seat to my, okay, you keep on pushing him, you know, and they show up a close up of his eyes when they have those green contacts and that eerie music comes on, like, and you know, that's the beginning of the end, because he would transform into the Hulk. Kind of like Daimajin has like the same type of thing. So when you see his fists come together and it slowly pan up, basically that means it's the beginning of the end for you. And if you're on his list, then I don't know what to tell you, you know. But as far as like the sculpt, the color, it really is a nice piece. It really is an amazing piece. And if you're a fan of Daimajin, and if you've not gotten any kind of Daimajin figures yet, please get your hands on this figure. It really is nice. It really is nice. Like I said, I wish I would have gotten the Red Boy, but I'm still fortunate and grateful to have this standard, you know. Let me pan up to show his feet a little bit. Nothing is extravagant as far as his feet, you know. Just stubby little feet, just like it was in the film, pretty much. And he doesn't have trouble standing. Like since I've gotten this figure, he has not taken any nosedives like Rodan or like the gigantic Ultra men that I have, Ultraman and Ultra 7, that they can stand on their own, you know, but they have those harnesses to keep them more so in place to give them extra security. Daimajin doesn't really need that, you know. He has pretty much stood on his own, you know. He hasn't really came down since I've gotten him last year, so that's good. So yeah, this really is a great piece. Sculpt, color, you know, the alternate, you know, with the sword, you know, just a great likeness. Also, one more thing that I want to talk about when it came to the Rip Boy, I mentioned it had alternate eyes, had an alternate, I guess, head that had his normal face, or the face before the spirit got inside him or whatever. You know, grappling hooks or whatever. One more thing I forgot to mention, it had like an alternate piece for like the chisel, and you can place it inside his head. And which once again was like a great part of the first film, Once again, you have to watch the film. You have to watch all three films because I will be talking about spoilers here. I'm trying to get y'all into it. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to ruin it for you, but it great films. They're really great films, and it had an alternate chisel as far as the Rip Boy. It had an alternate chisel where you could place inside his head, the top of his head here. You know, between that and, you know, you can have like the alternate hand. If you have the Rip Boy, you put the child in his right hand and just have him look like in different scenes from each one of his three films. And I think that's awesome. I think S Plus did a great job with the Rip Boy, and they have definitely done a great job with this standard here, and I could not even be even more happier. Yes, love it. 30 centimeter Daimajin. So let's go with one size comparison. I know I drown in my figure reviews with size comparison, but hey, I love setups. I'm trying to give y'all the best information possible from my perspective. So let's go with the one and only size comparison, and we'll wrap up this review with my thoughts of the whole Daimajin trilogy from 1966. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, this is the first and only and last size comparison that I want to put with this Daimajin. And along with Daimajin, I have the 30 centimeter Gargantua brothers, Sander and Gaara. Gaara, the green one on the left, and Sander, the brown one on the right. Of course, you already knew that. You already knew that. And down at the bottom, I have the 25 centimeter Rip Boy set of two figures from my favorite Gamera film of all time. Of course, you already know that too. The 25 centimeter Baragon on the left and the 25 centimeter Gamera in 1966 on the right. And the reason why I want to put all these figures together is all these figures came from films that came out in the same year, 1966. Conspicuous by their absence is the gigantic Ultraman and my 25 centimeter Godzilla 1966 Rip Boy from Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, and of course Ultraman was from Ultraman, the TV show, and both of those came out in 1966. So I just want to show you a great 1966 setup. You know what I mean? And I make no bones about it. 1966 as well, 1967 is one of my favorite years. You know, I love that period. And when it comes to tokusatsu, I kind of wish I could have been alive back then to really be just to experience those films firsthand. But ever since like 1964, you know, they were pushing out so many different great kaiju properties all within the time frame of one year, right? 1964, you had Dogora, the space monster. Mothra vs. Godzilla, my favorite film, mind you. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. 65, Monster Zero, Gamera's debut film, Frankenstein Conquers the World, you know what I mean? 1966, you had War of the Gargantuas, Daimajin Trilogy, Gamera vs. Baragon, Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, Ultraman on TV. 1967, you had Son of Godzilla, King Kong Escapes, Yonga-Ri, Giant Robo, Ultra 7, Gamera vs. Gauss, Gappa, The X from Outer Space. Wow, just great kaiju properties that all came out within the realm of 1 year. And I think 1966 was a great year. And of course, it's kind of hard for me to pick what is my favorite property from 1966. I'll probably go with War of the Gargantuas, you know, but every single one of these properties, Ultraman, Gargantuas, Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, Gamera vs. Baragon, Daimajin, you know, Ultraman, all these great properties are great. They're entertaining, they're fun, they're just, even though it may be outlandish in certain respects, but they're great properties to get into. And once again, great alternatives, you know what I mean? Great alternative kaiju entertainment. If you're a Godzilla fan and that's all your focus is, you know, that is fine, but it's nice that they came out with other great entertaining alternatives to the kaiju genre. And Daimajin, Gargantuas, Gamera vs. Baragon, Ultraman, you know, the cream of the crop. So yes, this is my partial 1966 setup. Like I said, conspicuous by their absence is Godzilla and Ultraman, but still, as you can see, they look great together on their own right here. Especially the one guy in the middle. Thank you, Eric. Both Erics, I really appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about Daimajin. Yes, let's talk about the Daimajin trilogy from 1966. Daimajin, the Return of Daimajin, and the Wrath of Daimajin, or Daimajin Strikes Again. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, let's talk about the Daimajin trilogy. Yes, Daimajin, the Return of Daimajin, and the Wrath of Daimajin, also known as Daimajin Strikes Again. Once again, I'm a novice at best when it comes to these films. I've only seen them, like I said, maybe once. I know I've seen them once. I mean, no, twice, at least twice. And I probably need to watch them again. You know, not just for historical purposes, but they really are cool films, great alternative films. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to the Kaiju Transmissions podcast. Matt Parmley, Kyle Bird, and of course my brother from another mother, Eric Henry. They did a discussion involving all three Daimajin films. I highly recommend you go to that episode. I think it happened in 2017 during the summer, I believe. They all sat down and discussed all three films. So I really do recommend that you go to their podcast, the Kaiju Transmissions podcast, and check out the episode if you want to get more into Daimajin, or at least know about the backstory involving Daimajin. Now, as far as my perspective from Daimajin, like I said, I think they're great alternative films. Now mind you, I think that's the thing. When I heard about these films, when I watched them, even though I was entertained, I was mildly disappointed. You know what I mean? Because all these films came out in the same year of 1966. And even though they're great films, they, in a way, kind of tell a similar story. They don't go into different directions like let's say the Gamera trilogy, from the Heisei period. And those are awesome films, but even though they involve the same character of Gamera, each film goes into different directions. Daimajin, in a way, kind of doesn't. Now, here's the premise of basically all three stories, in a way, from my perspective, right? There's like a peaceful, like I said, it's set in feudal Japan, long time ago, like with samurais and stuff like that. It's kind of like a period piece or period drama, in a way, which is good. I really enjoy that type of time frame. It's not in modern days, with cars and people and smartphones, stuff like that. And stories like that really get to me, like Western and stuff like that. So I really like stories like that. Basically, it's like, there's like a peaceful ruler, or at least headman of this village. And especially in the first two. Now, in the third one, there are kids, there are protagonists. But basically, like, there are good people. Then there's like an evil warlord and his evil henchmen. They take over the village, or at least they kill the good guys. And then the rest of the good protagonists pray to Daimajin, their great demon god, which is the god of their village, and he comes to life and basically exacts bloody justice on the henchmen. And that's basically the premise of all three stories. Now, the settings change and the characters change, but basically it just follows the same type of premise or format, which doesn't mean that it's bad, but when I went into the films, I expected for it to be a little bit different, with each film. You know what I mean? Like I said, it doesn't mean that it's bad, or being repetitive. I think maybe because they were released in the same year, that's one of the reasons why the trilogy is repetitive. Although I do have certain things that I love about each film. Like in the first one, I love the setting. You know what I mean? That's the thing about Daimajin. Daimajin, in a way, at least all three films, are kind of structured as an Ultraman show or Ultra 7 show. If you go into these films thinking that you can get monster action from beginning to end, you might be disappointed, because Daimajin doesn't really show up until like maybe the very, very, very end. At least towards the tail end of the third act. Like I said, it's structured like an Ultraman show. But the stories in all three films are really compelling that, maybe by the second one or the third one, you kind of count in time when Daimajin shows up. But still, the stories in all three films are great in build up to his appearance. And when he appears and when he shows up, yeah, things start going down. He kills people, he destroys things. He's both the savior and a destroyer at the same time. In the first one thing I love about that's the thing, I love certain things about each film. Each film kind of shines in a certain way to me that I love, right? In the first one, I love the setting. I love when Daimajin really first appears, and have the red background and, behind him and stuff like that. I love that. I love the setting. You know what I mean? Even though there are inconsistencies with like sounds, because there are times where you see Daimajin walking from a distance and you hear his footsteps, but then there are times where you do see him up close, and there are times where they have his footsteps. They play his footsteps when he's walking, but there are times where he doesn't. It's very inconsistent. But I will say that as time went on, they were able to improve on that. Now, what I love about the second film is when he first appears and he parts. Like I said, I'm talking spoilers here. When he parts the lake that he was in, kind of like Moses, stuff like that. And I love the music better in the second one. And I especially love how the evil guy, at least the evil head guy, dies in the second one. You know what I mean? And the third one, one thing I love about the third one is basically I like the kid aspect. I like the kids being the protagonist, stuff like that. They're not annoying as you will find in Gamera's later Showa films. The kids were really, really good. And I also love the snow aspect of the third one. You know what I mean? Out of all of them, I probably would say... Here's what I say. I would recommend the first one as probably the best. The one I would recommend to newbies that want to get into Daimajin. I recommend the first one. But as far as my personal favorite, I kind of lean towards the second one. I just love a lot more things about the second one, the Return of Daimajin, than the other two. Like I said, I love the music better in that one. I love how he appears when he parts that lake that he's in. I especially love the way he kills the evil guy, the evil head guy. Just to give you little spoilers here, the head guy gets away from Daimajin after Daimajin has just finished destroying the village and destroying all of his henchmen and blah blah blah. The evil guy gets on a boat. He's like trying to sail away, and Daimajin is still walking towards him. That's the thing. Daimajin is kind of like a kaiju version of Michael Myers. You know what I mean? He's gonna get you no matter what. You could run, or like a Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. He's gonna get you. If you're on his list, he's gonna get you. There's no way to get around that. But anyways, he's on this boat. He's trying to sail away from Daimajin. Meanwhile, there's like this storm. And that's one thing about Daimajin. He's more than just a kaiju. Or more than just a great demon god. When he shows up, he like brings clouds and rain and just, I don't know, there's something going on with this dude. But he brings like bad weather conditions. He's just a force. He's more so than a kaiju or kaiju per se or a stone kaiju per se. He's a force to be reckoned with. And like I said, with the guy, he's trying to not swim, he's trying to, he's on his boat, he's trying to get away from Daimajin. And Daimajin is on the shore, and he's just staring at him. He's just looking at him. And I don't know what he did, but he, dispersed, some fire, which traveled on top of the water and got to the guy's boat and started to burn the boat underneath him. And the guy is climbing, trying to get away from the flames, and he gets tangled up in the mast of the boat and hangs himself, and the flames consume and it burns him to death. I love that death scene. You know what I mean? Now, he stabbed a guy in the first one, and I think he stabbed another guy in the third one. In the third one, he falls into some sulfur pits and gets dissolved. But the way he kills the guy in the second one, I really do enjoy that. So I would say the second one's probably my favorite. As far as Daimajin, his performance, he's a really, really cool kaiju, just a cool character. He doesn't roar. He doesn't have any kind of animated dynamic personality like Godzilla 73 or 75 would. He is very stoic and methodical. He's very slow, but at the same time, sometimes he can snap his neck, and just the way he moves. And sometimes when he has a particular person or a target, his eyes will get all big. He's just creepy, but at the same time, you can't help but be interested in him. You know what I mean? Which is why I highly recommend you get into the Daimajin films. You really get into the Daimajin films. And that's the thing, like I said, even though each film takes place probably in a different setting and the characters change and how Daimajin comes back is kind of different, but they still follow the same premise. But like I said, it's not exactly a bad thing, because also at the same time, it's kind of hypocritical to jump down on Daimajin and his films for being repetitive when there's another certain giant monster that kind of did the same thing. And I'm talking about Godzilla. And my point is, Godzilla was a guy again. I love that film. It's my second favorite film of all time from Godzilla. Then the next film, Godzilla vs. Megalon. Once again, another popular film for some people. Great film. and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 1974. Those three films in the 70s period. Basically, they kind of follow the same formula. You know, Alien shows up, especially in 72 and 74. Alien shows up. They send out monsters to destroy the world. Godzilla comes from Monster Island, beats down the monsters, and goes back. Basically the same type of premise in each film. Of course, they take different directions and different aspects with their stories in Gigan, Megalon, Mechagodzilla, but still the premise is still the same. That's my point. That if we can still love those films, you know, for being pretty much the same type of premise, you know, whatever, Daimajin's the same way. So that's why that's my argument for Daimajin. You know, like I said, don't go into this film expecting something drastically different with each film. You know, you may be disappointed with that, but still, if you judge the films as a whole, as each individual entry, I think that you'll be thoroughly entertained. 'Cause I don't think, from what I gathered, I don't think the films have anything to do with each other storyline wise. I just think that they're just three separate, but still similar takes on a great cool character in Daimajin, and I highly recommend you check them out. You know, try to find the Blu-rays I don't think they're in Walmart, but maybe try find them online. You know, Amazon, eBay, maybe. But try and track them down. If not, just go to YouTube. They're on YouTube right now for your viewing pleasure, and I highly recommend that. And if you want to get more into Daimajin, or at least want to get into the backstory about Daimajin before you watch the films, like I said, go to the Kaiju Transmissions podcast and check out the episode dedicated to Daimajin, and you will have all you need to get inside this cool character, Daimajin. I love him. Yes, so that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus 30cm Daimajin figure from the classic 1966 trilogy of Daimajin films. Daimajin, The Return of Daimajin, The Wrath of Daimajin, also known as Daimajin Strikes Again. You have any questions, holler me down in the comment section, or hit me up on Facebook, Veermark Calloway. We definitely go from there. Yes, oh my God, I'm glad I'm finally get to review this guy. Once again, thank you, both Erics. I really do appreciate it. Thank y'all. Y'all know what you were doing. You know what you were doing. You know what I mean? Maybe at some point, once I watch the films more, maybe I will have a live stream dedicated to all the Daimajin films. Because I want to get more into Daimajin. I want to get more into him as a character, more into the films. Maybe there were some things, I'm sure there were some things I did miss. And there were some things that I really need to watch the films to try to get more of a grasp over. You know, but maybe that may be a possibility down in the future, down the line. Because I think Daimajin's a really cool character. And I think he's worth a second look. You know, I don't think I'll be going after any more figures of him, because I think I'm fine with what I have. But it doesn't mean that I can't do a live stream discussion about him as well as the film. So stay tuned. You may be seeing something like that along those lines in the on my channel in the future. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. You know, so much stuff is coming. The Daimajin Gigantic Series Megazord, the 25cm Godzilla 2004, my revisit of Godzilla 55, 62, Mothra 61. You know, a lot of stuff is coming here on the channel. So please stay tuned. You will not be disappointed with what I have planned. All right. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this figure move review. All right. Y'all take it easy, or else Daimajin will come and kill you. All right, stay easy.